In the modern, chaotic world of superhero cinema, few debates rage as fiercely as the one pitting fans of Zack Snyder's so-called Snyderverse against the new DC Universe DCU, helmed by James Gunn and Peter Safran. At the heart of this rivalry lies the tale of two Supermen, Snyder's brooding philosophical take in 2013's Man of Steel, and James Gunn's vibrant, optimistic 2025 Superman. Snyderverse loyalists often decry the new film as a betrayal, while DCU enthusiasts hail it as a return to the character's roots. But this binary feud overlooks a simple truth. Both films have their merits, and it's possible, dare I say healthy, to appreciate both of them without the tribalism. As someone who's watched the DC film landscape evolve from the heights of Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight to the mixed bag of the DCU, I argue that the hate directed towards the 2025 Superman movie is largely unjustified. Instead of dwelling on nostalgia-tinted grievances, we should celebrate the franchise that's finally positioning itself for long-term success. The DCU's fresh start offers a chance to blend the introspection of Snyder's era with Gunn's accessible, optimistic storytelling, creating a more versatile universe that appeals to a broader audience. Let's unpack the core comparisons: tone, story, critical reception, and profitability. These elements highlight the differences between the two films, but also why the reboot was a necessary pivot for DC Studios. We'll also explore how the broader DCEU's trajectory influenced this shift. Man of Steel arrived at a time when superhero films were leaning into post-9/11 realism, influenced heavily by Nolan's Batman saga. Snyder's vision portrayed Superman as a godlike figure grappling with isolation, destruction, and moral ambiguity. The tone was dark, operatic, almost biblical. Think slow-motion battles amid crumbling skyscrapers and a color palette dominated by grays and blues. It was a bold reimagining, emphasizing the weight of heroism in a skeptical world. This approach resonated with audiences seeking something edgier than the campy Superman films of the past, especially the third and fourth movies. Man of Steel has aged remarkably well as a thoughtful exploration of power and responsibility. By contrast, Superman 2025 embraces a brighter, more whimsical tone that's unmistakably inspired by the comic books. David Corenswet's Clark Kent is a beacon of hope surrounded by a colorful ensemble, including Lois Lane, Lex Luthor, and other cameos from DC heroes like the Green Lantern, Guy Gardner. Critics praised the movie for being fun and aligning closer to the Golden Age Superman that symbolized American optimism. This is not a dismissal of Snyder's version, it's a complementary take in my opinion. Man of Steel excelled at deconstructing the Superman myth, while the new Superman movie rebuilds it with joy. Why can't we enjoy both interpretations of the character and uplift one another? After all, the comics themselves have flipped between dark and bright takes in the past for decades. Man of Steel is a high-stakes alien invasion narrative where Kal-El arrives on Earth and it culminates with a city-leveling showdown with General Zod. It is a story of identity crisis and sacrifice culminating in a controversial neck snap. The plot was epic, the scope set the stage for the DCEU, but it also sowed seeds of division by prioritizing spectacle over character warmth. Superman 2025 weaves a more character-driven tale, blending Clark's Kryptonian heritage with his Kansas upbringing. It introduces threats like Lex Luthor, the Engineer, and Ultraman, but keeps the focus on relationships. The fidelity to the comics, complete with Easter eggs from Action Comics, All-Star Superman, and more, makes it feel like a love letter to the source material. Detractors claim that the movie is too safe, but that misses the point. Accessibility and fun are good things, broadening the appeal without dumbing it down. Man of Steel was groundbreaking for its realism, but Superman course corrects, reminding us that Superman's story is much more about inspiration than it is about conflict. Liking both movies does not require choosing sides. It enriches our understanding of the character's versatility. Expanding on this, the DCU's interconnected setup allows for more organic crossovers, avoiding the DCEU's rushed team-ups that often felt forced. Let's talk about the critics. Man of Steel at the time of this recording holds a 57% on Rotten Tomatoes, reflecting a polarized reception at release. It was savaged by many for its dour tone and destructive finale, with reviewers calling it joyless and overly serious. Yet over time, it gained a cult following praised for its ambition and visual prowess. Snyder fans often point to this movie aging well as proof of its superiority, but let's not forget the contemporary backlash that contributed to the DCEU's rocky path. Superman 2025, on the other hand, boasts an 86% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes and a whopping 90% audience approval on Rotten Tomatoes. Reviewers laud the new movie as full of heart, humor, and action, calling it a fresh start for the DC universe. Snyderverse purists decry this as pandering, but they're viewing the past through rose-colored glasses. They conveniently overlook how Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice was pummeled by critics with an abysmal 29% critics reception, despite earning $874 million at the box office worldwide. Justice League scraped by with $661 million against a $300 million budget, labeled as a box office disappointment at the time, amid reshoots and tonal whiplash, earning a 39% critics score. These films had serious issues: rushed narratives, inconsistent characterizations, and odd creative choices. Critics of the 2025 movie rarely acknowledge this when bashing Gunn's vision. This selective amnesia fuels the rivalry, but history shows that fans can evolve. Consider Tim Burton's gothic 1989 Batman movie, which is still beloved to this day, and compare that with Nolan's grounded trilogy that fans also adore. Fans adore both without the vitriol. Why can't this same thing apply here? The DCU's critical acclaim suggests that it's learning from these missteps, focusing on a cohesive narrative that resonates more broadly. One common criticism of the new Superman movie was that it's a so-called flop, but this ignores nuance. Man of Steel grossed $668 million worldwide, a solid hit. Adjusted for inflation, that's almost $1 billion, sitting at $928 million in today's dollars. It outperformed expectations and kicked off the DCEU with promise. However, the franchise faltered. While Aquaman soared to over $1.1 billion, later entries like Justice League underperformed. The DCEU grossed well, earning $7 billion across 15 films, but it lacked consistency. There is no apparent long-term plan, leading to creative chaos and audience fatigue. The reboot was justified to streamline and refresh. The DCU's decline became even more apparent in the final years. Films like Black Adam 2022, which grossed $393 million, it failed to ignite the spark needed for Dwayne Johnson's anti-hero anchor for future stories. Similarly, The Flash stumbled to $271 million worldwide on a $200 million or so budget. It was plagued by controversies and unable to capitalize on the multiverse concept. Blue Beetle only managed to get $131 million at the box office against a $104 million budget. That was a genuine flop. Although I did like the Blue Beetle movie. And let's not forget about Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom in 2023, a sequel to the billion-dollar hit, limped to a $439 million box office run against a $205 million budget. A sharp drop that underscores shifting audience tastes and market saturation, and an inconsistent quality in these films. The DCEU was sputtering, justifying a full reboot to reinvigorate the brand. Superman 2025 earned, at the time of this recording, $611 million worldwide, short of $700 million to be sure, but calling it a flop is unfair and short-sighted. Factor in digital sales, buckets of merchandise, streaming service deals, home video, it's poised for profitability for years. The box office is not the be-all end-all of a movie's profitability. Would DC Studios have preferred Superman reach $700 million or higher? Of course. Is it a financial success nonetheless? Of course it is. The movie industry has transformed dramatically post-COVID. Streaming dominance, shorter theatrical windows, and economic pressures mean that a direct comparison to a 2013 movie are apples to oranges. Theatrical runs now are shorter, but ancillary revenue streams are very robust. In this landscape, Superman's performance signals stability, not failure. Moreover, it sets a foundation for sustained earnings through sequels and spin-offs, unlike the DCEU's inconsistent returns. The new DCU's approach extends beyond individual films to a broader branding decision that reflects commitment to accessibility. James Gunn says that each movie will be like its own graphic novel, it's part of the same universe, but artistic approaches will be different among the movies. With a coherent plan and simultaneously having different visions, an interconnected and diverse universe should be quite appealing to audiences. And if one movie doesn't work, it won't sink the entire franchise. The rivalry between the Snyderverse and the DCU stems from passion, and it's good to be passionate about the things that you love, but it's time to move beyond the rivalry. Snyder fans are not wrong to cherish Man of Steel's depth. It was innovative at the time, and it is still a good movie today, but Superman 2025 being more comic book accurate and fun does not diminish anything that Zack Snyder has accomplished. It expands the palette. The hate lobbed at the new Superman movie, often amplified on social media, feels disproportionate. With several interesting projects in the works, DC Studios' future looks bright precisely because it's embracing variety. Just as fans love Tim Burton's gothic 1989 Batman movie alongside Christopher Nolan's realistic Dark Knight Batman, why can't we do something similar with Superman? Both Man of Steel and Superman are excellent films, just for different reasons. Boiling it all down, the rivalry is unfair, the criticism of the new movie is unfair, and the future of DC, in my opinion, looks quite bright. I love the DCEU and I love the DCU, and I hope you do too. Eric Wilford Watson signing out.